Welcome back, everyone, to the Fly Culture Podcast with me, your host, Pete Titus. Back out on some water again today. I've had so many messages from people who have really enjoyed these podcasts. For those that don't enjoy them quite as much, don't worry, there's some interview-based ones coming very, very soon. I've got some really, really interesting people lined up to talk with and share their passion for fly fishing with you. But I thought I'd try something different today. I've been in Italy, as you know, and the weather I've come back to has been very warm. The rivers have been very low. I haven't checked temperatures on my home river yet, but it's this time of year that we start thinking about those newer, more different species. Today I'm going to have a go for carp. I'm not going to say where I am, but the venue lends itself really well to stalking fish. So what I've done is got together a bunch of flies that I think might work. I've got some small lures. I've got some crayfish that Yestin tied for me, and some nymphs as well, just in case. What I plan to do is walk, see if I can find a carp, cast to it, and you never know what might happen. I think this will be a really fun way of fishing, and as I often talk about on this podcast, that I really, really enjoy seeing fish and their reaction to a fly, and seeing if I can get my fly to the fish without spooking it, and getting them to eat as well. So that's the plan for today. The water's clear, so I'm going to be able to see them. There's some sun as well, so I think that's going to work in my favour. I've got a small pack, I've got a net, I've got something to drink, and I've got something to eat. I think I'm organised, so I'm in pretty good shape. So what I'm going to try and do is take you fishing with me, things that I observe, the things I learn, and let's see if I can find a carp. Drove down the A30, in silence. Didn't have any music on, didn't listen to podcasts. And it got me thinking about, what does fishing mean to me? What does it mean to us? We talk about it being good for our mental health. We talk about where it is a release for us. If it takes us from somewhere, if we've got busy lives, it's our escape from things. But it almost feels like a bit of a safe space as well. And I drove down planning what I was going to do today. Stopped off, had a cup of coffee, took my time and just thought. And you can feel different. I'm a bit tired. I was out reliving my youth last night with Emma. I've always wanted to see Nile Rodgers and Chic, who happened to be supporting Emma's favourite band, Duran Duran. So we went and saw them last night. I can hardly hear a thing. It was brilliant. It was really, really good. And I really enjoyed it, particularly when Duran Duran did a cover version of White Lines, and that really got me bouncing. But it doesn't affect me in quite the same way as fishing does. And it might be sometimes I'm excited, sometimes I shake with excitement. And it isn't, I often talk on here, it isn't about the fish, I don't think. And coming back from Italy, I was thinking about that too. And those that came with me know that I didn't fish a whole lot. I caught my marble trout that I was really pleased with, and caught some more, and I caught those Danubian trout as well. But then I spent time with the people and enjoyed their excitement as well as they fished the river and clambering up mountain streams. It didn't have to be a fish that made it a good trip. It's a whole lot more. And today, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to wander around. I may not even find a carp. I'm going to try. I'm just parked up at the moment. Again, I'm super relaxed. I've picked up a sandwich that I'm going to have for lunch. I'm just going to walk. I'm going to spend the day here, see what I can do, see if I can spot a fish. That's what's really important to me today, to see if I can spot one. That's what I'm really keen to try and do. But whether I catch one or not, I don't know. I'll give it a good go. I'm pretty okay at spotting fish. I'm pretty okay at covering fish. There's people who are a lot better than me, but that doesn't matter. This is my day. I'm the only person here at the moment. Maybe that I don't see anyone else. Who knows? But I'm going to have a good walk round. I'm going to get set up. Let's see what happens. Here comes that feeling again. I decided to try and find, I thought from a stalking point of view, I'd try and find an area where the water was less disturbed. It would be easier to spot them. And I can see not far out a fish working. It looks like it's trying to dig something up. It's a carp. I can see its back every now and again. And like I say, that feeling comes back again that I shake. I'm really excited. So I'm going to see if I can cover this one. I'm trying to figure out my best plan of attack, and I'll see if I can find it and figure this out. But it seems quite happy. It seems quite happy. And this is that equivalent, I guess, of the bonefish, of a tailing fish. And my friend Dave, I first learnt the term klooping from him. This one's not klooping at the surface, it's reverse klooping. The sound they make when they eat a insect off the surface. But I'm going to see if it goes again. I'm going to get a fly going, but yeah, I'm shaking just a little bit. My eyes are tired, so I'm hoping I can thread the fly okay. I haven't seen it go for a few moments. That wind's just crept up just a little bit, so I'm going to see what happens. But yeah, I'm pleased I did this. I'd love to tell you I had an epic battle with a carp, but while I was setting up, it finished doing what it was doing and went. So I'm walking a little bit further again. I'm looking for flat water where it's protected from the wind, just to start with, see how I get on. And just keeping an eye out. But I haven't seen anything like that. But you want anything to get the pulse going, that's certainly it. So I'm going to walk a little bit further. I'm set up. I'm ready to make a shot now. And I've talked through flies and things. I've got a 9.5 foot rod. It's a old Reddington Vice, a cheap rod, but it's a stiff rod. I kind of like it. I use it for salmon as well. I've got a line that will load the rod quickly in case I do have to fire that shot off. So I've got a Rio spay line. I find it's really good, not just for spay casting and roll casting, but also, oh, that might have been a fish. That might have been a fish. It's good overhead casting as well, so I really, really like it. I like the taper. It works for me. Works with the stiff rod really, really well. I've got a level through leader to about 12 pounds or so. The fish in here tend to be 5-6 pounds. There's bigger ones as well. But I think that'll do me for the time being. Straight the way through. I haven't tapered it. I've got some thicker tippet should I need it if I want to taper it, but where I'm fishing here, I don't think I'm going to be making super long casts. I'm sight casting for fish, so as a result of that, I'm not going to be making super long casts. So I'm just sort of trying to spot those fish, fire out a shot, and see if I get lucky or not. But we'll see. It could have been a trout. It's where I'd expect a trout, where the soft water, the flat water, and the rippled water join. So I've walked a fair way, and I'm gonna just now gently and quietly get into the water. I'd prefer not to, but I think it's going to allow me to spot fish just a little bit better. I saw that one obviously doing what it was doing, but you know, I've stepped out a little way here and I'm only ankle deep. I'm hoping that I'll be able to see them. The sun's coming into my face, so spotting them is going to be slightly more problematic from here, but I'm just looking for any signs, taking my time. I'm going to take my fly off the rod in a second, and then I'm ready to make a shot should I need to. I'm looking for signs of fish, as I mentioned before, but I'm also looking for nervous water as well. If I see anything like that, if there's a fish moving, I'm going to try and fire a shot at it as quickly as I possibly can. Walked from where I saw the reverse kloop and then worked my way back. I saw a fish moving away from me, covered it and got a whack, but it sadly didn't convert. I don't think I struck on it. If I'm fishing something I don't know so well, if I've got a strip strike, or it might be, if you're lucky enough, bone fishing, or pike even, I guess, as well, and with these carp, I have this mantra, and I'm saying to myself as I've made the cast as it's going out, and I'm letting it sink, don't strike, don't strike, don't strike. But on this occasion, it didn't stick. One of the challenges I'm finding already is that the sun isn't where I need it to be. So to spot the fish, I think if I'm going to see them like I just did there, if I'm going to see them, they're going to be pretty close, and I think that probably negates my chances just a little bit too. But I'm going to keep walking all the way along this bank just to see if I can see anyone. It's like I say, it's going to be up close, and then work my way around and see if I can find the sun in a slightly easier position for me to be able to see. I've got the van, so I can go and travel if I need to, but I like the idea of seeing the fish in this soft water without the unrippled water. And for me, I'm sort of shin deep. I feel like I'm on a bonefish flat. The sun's not come out yet. There's a bit of cloud. The sun's sort of masked by clouds just a little bit at the moment, which probably isn't too bad a thing. There's a little bit of wind as well, so that makes spotting just that little bit tougher too. But I'm going to keep walking, see what I can find, see if I can see another reverse kloop. That was really, really exciting. And see if I can find a fish for you. But I'm learning already. What I try and do with these things is try and take everything in, think about what I'm doing, trying to put the odds in my favour, think about how am I going to find these fish, how's it going to be easy for me to find the fish, and then make that cast to them. So we will see. But I could count that as a small victory. You know, I got a whack off a fish, definitely felt it. It was a hard whack as well, but just didn't stick. I'm like I say, I'm 90% sure, 95 probably % sure I didn't strike on it. So as I said, that mantra helps. It might be worth trying as well if you're doing something like this, or pike, or even on bones if you're at the front of a boat or walking along a flat and you're a trout angler and it's perhaps your first time or you're a little bit rusty. Those little things make life a little bit easier. Decided to make the payoff or the trade-off and walked around so I've got the sun behind me. A couple of things as I was walking along, I was really, really careful looking at every little thing I can just to see even the rocks as the wind pushes the water or the wave over the rock. Is that the back of a fish? But it hasn't been. I did spook one that was incredibly close in. But my trade-off now, I don't know if you can hear the wind, is that I've got the sun behind me now. So hopefully I can see a fish, but I've also got to be very, very careful because the sun's behind me, it's putting my shadow onto the water. So I've kind of got to step back a little bit as well, just to be on the safe side. I've had a bit of a breather here because I can see some muddy water. And I don't know if that's been carp working round. Might not be, but I'm going to wait for a bit just to see if I can see any signs of fish around here. Perhaps they were eating something and working around this sort of area. So I'm looking for that at the moment. The wind's coming into me, so that does make spotting fish a little bit harder. And the bottom of the area where I'm fishing is dark, so I've slowed down my pace a little bit. What I've got is some line out. I'm holding on to the fly, and then I'm waiting to see if I've got some line out, and then I'm waiting to see if I can fire some line out quickly if I see a fish. But I'd love to see one that's sort of moseying around that I can get a shot at. But as I said, this is the trade-off right now, that I've lost a little bit of visibility, but if it makes sense, I've gained a little bit as well, because I feel like I can spot a fish if there's one around. I'm still looking for nervous water. I'm looking for any signs that I can to see if it's a fish. And I'm sure I could probably chuck something out and see. But for me, because we've got clear water here, or clearish water, I'd be mad. There's another bit of cloudy water in front of me now as well, actually. I'd be mad not to try and spot a fish and cast to it. So what's happened since I last spoke with you? Well, I've kept walking. I've just looked at my steps and I've walked 3.2 miles so far. I've seen one fish that was pretty stationary. Didn't look like it was on the feed, just sat quietly out the way. I covered it and it scooted off pretty quickly. Did make me think about my fly choice a little bit as well, though, and I'd been fishing a small lure with a orange tungsten bead on the front of it. Made me think I might change. So I've got sort of almost like a caddisy shrimp pattern with a couple of beads on. My hope is that if I see something, I can drop it in front of them. But I'm also wary of the day I had with Dave and Steve. And Dave, I know, said that the fish will take it as it drops through the water column. So I'm already thinking, right, okay, does that mean that my fly might be a little bit too heavy? But I'm going to give it a go. And if not, as I said, those words are ringing my ears. A couple of other things I've noticed, that usually when I fish with a pair of Ray-Ban Polaroids. And the reason I do that is that spotting fish isn't as important where I fish at home. I'm fishing to rising fish. But I put on a pair of Costas when I went to Italy in case I needed to spot fish. And I've noticed that does come in really, really handy, a decent pair of Polaroids to be able to spot the fish. I've had these about 103 years or something. They're still going strong and they allow me to see these fish. And it's still not easy. I'm walking back up the bank again. Like I say, I've walked a fair way, but I feel like I can see a fish, and if I do see a fish, I can get a shot off at it as well. So I've found it totally absorbing. You know, it is, I keep using that parallel with bone fishing, but it's like that. You're not going to make a whole load of casts, because I don't know if you were spec casting for them. I'm sure it can work, but I'd rather see the fish, make a shot at it and see if I can catch it, or, as has last been the case, spook it. But where I am now, the sun's not in the ideal position. This afternoon it might be, and what I might do is walk back up this bank again, whereas the view isn't quite as good and the wind is on my back. So my guess is that fish probably will work up the wind. So it may be that they see me before I see them, but we'll wait and see. I've not seen a great deal here. The bottom's a little bit clearer, so I think that puts the odds in my favour. And when I saw that fish, it was pretty easy to see, but I'm not seeing anyone at the moment. But does it mean I'm not enjoying it? No, not at all. I'm loving every second of this focus and concentration. I'm really looking for anything that might give me a clue as to if it's a fish or not. And I'm thinking about the fish that I spooked earlier that I mentioned, that was very, very close in. So I'm not even in the water. I'm walking back. I'm probably 8 or 9 feet back from the bank. And I'm looking, which means I can't see that far, particularly with the sun in this situation, a little bit of ripple on the water as well. The bottom here is quite even, and I could call it a little bit sandy as well, that I don't know if fish will patrol through here and not eat. I don't know. I've seen some damsels as well come off, so damsel nymphs in my mind as well, possibly as a fly pattern. I've seen 3 or 4 of those as I've walked up, and I think what I'm going to do is walk up the bank a little bit further, and then I'm going to try and step back a bit and see if I can get a higher view into the water as well. It's all about being able to see the fish. That's the important thing. I've got a cap on today as well. I meant to put on I've got sort of a bucket hat that I often wear, and the reason that I do it is that from years and years of wearing a baseball cap and taking people fishing, that the sun has had an impact on my ears. So a couple of things is worth bearing in mind is to make sure you put loads of suntan lotion on. And if you are sensing that, and I know a friend of mine the other day, I saw that his ear was peeling, so I did mention that to him. But be aware of those sorts of little things, and where my lion's mane of hair isn't as thick as it used to be, that I make sure I put plenty of suntan lotion on the top of my head as well. Still walking along. I've covered a little bit of distance, and I can see out probably 20 feet or so, and there's no ripple there. So if there's a fish there, I might get a shot. But yeah, I'm staying back a little bit further just in case I see someone. But also, if I'm going to turn around and walk back down, this bank feels right to me. I'll get a better shot walking back down, I think. But I'm hoping, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed, that I might see somebody who's travelling. As I said, it doesn't feel to me as though the fish are up to a great deal. I haven't seen big numbers of them either, so it may be, and this the thing is, and I saw a trout angler earlier and it just not even moved. And if you're fishing bigger expanses of water, you just got to keep covering water, keep looking for those fish. That's what I'm hoping I might be able to do here, and see if I can find a carp that wants to eat my fly. So my plan is to see if I can get a shot with this caddisy, shrimpy sort of pattern, see if that works, if there is any form of reaction. Then my next plan is to probably, if that doesn't work, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed it does, but if it doesn't, then it may be that I need to go a little bit lighter and see. And like I say, with the orange bead, I wonder, with the water so clear, that may spook them. I sort of kind of work on the basis that it might make a fish that's interested come take a look. But yeah, as I said, having seen that fish, and he wasn't feeding, so that's not really a true indicator. But I've walked a little way while I've been talking to you, and I've not seen anything yet. I've moved further back as well from the bank. There's a few rocks here, and I may even go and step on them and see if I can see anything. But as I said, my clue has been that they've been in relatively close, so I'm very wary of that. And that may allow me to get the shot. We'll see what happens though. Really feel like swearing, and swearing quite loudly, but I'm going to try and remain controlled. Saw a fish. I changed from that heavier fly, it was ringing in my ears, to something a little bit lighter. It's like a rubbery sort of caddis sort of pattern. Saw a fish, looked stationary but shifted, plopped it right on its head and watched the fish come in. I saw the mouth open, felt a little bit of weight, and then off it had gone again. So I'm edging ever nearer. Geez, this is exciting. This is really, really good fun, but shit, that was so close. And I could see it was all visual under the water. That's why I love this. It's just about lunchtime. You can probably hear the wind's got up a little bit. I'm learning as I'm going along here. And it's been a really interesting schooling, that I'm trying to take everything in that I possibly can, that within the area that I'm fishing, little bays, fish have been in there. I've not made a whole bunch of casts. I got bumped by another fish. So I'm starting to question what I'm doing when it comes to the fish taking. I don't think I'm doing anything wrong. I don't know. I've discovered that they want it drab. So when I've changed flies up and I went a little bit bigger just to see, there was absolutely no interest whatsoever. So I don't know if it's hook size, if there's something like that. I'm not an expert on this, so I can't say this is the reason, but I'm starting to think about, right, okay, why hasn't that happened? So clouds come over a little bit. Like I say, the bay within a bay sort of area seems to be where they are. They like where there's a drop off relatively close. So they like the shallower water, so I can see them in there. And it's the shallower stuff with a drop off nearby. There are areas that I've walked, I haven't done an update, but I've walked a lot of miles. And they're the things I'm starting to pick up now, that's how the fish actually like it. Have I had a lot of shots? No. But I feel like I'm doing okay, and I'm pretty happy with how I've approached this. It's just that end thing, but these fish are not going to be easy. They're behaving like I would expect carp to, that they're sort of there and then thereabouts, and then no, they're not going to eat. I've also discovered that setting a trap for them hasn't worked for me in this situation today as well as I hoped. So that, what I mean by setting a trap is that I've cast a distance in front of them, let the fly sink, and then tried to twitch it. What I've discovered is that on my limited successes, and I'll call them successes, I don't mind doing that because I'm happy, have been where I've landed the fly pretty much on the fish's head. And that little plop of the fly, without a shadow of doubt, has got them a little bit more interested. There has been a situation where I've done that and they have buggered off, but that would be my read of that. So I'm going to move position and see. I've sort of worked the area I've been describing for quite some time, and I thought, right, well, let's go and see if there's someone else. You know, I may not find fish, and that's one of the things with this, isn't it, that you sort of have to back yourself a little bit in the hope that perhaps there might be a more willing fish somewhere else. I don't know if that's going to be what's going to happen, but I'm going to have a look. I'm going to try and figure out where I can get the wind on my back a little bit as well. Like I say, there's a little bit more cloud around now, so that's going to make it slightly more challenging from that point of view, but I don't mind. I like the challenge. I like the challenge of this fishing, and it is good to step outside your box. You know, I could have easily gone down. Probably, I'm a bit wary of water temperatures right now, so that's why I haven't hit the river today. But I like this. It's testing me. It's ticking the see if you can find a fish box and cover it. And I really like that. Being able to see a fish and cover it is really, for me, really, really exciting. So I'm loving that. Perhaps I'll catch a fish, perhaps I won't, but I'm learning stuff. So next time I come, I'm going to have a better idea. I've scoped out an area now that I think that I can catch fish from if I'm really, really lucky, or where there might be fish. And I'm just walking now. The wind's coming into this bank now as well. So there's a little bit of murkiness to the water. So do I think about changing the fly to something that has a little bit more to it? I don't know. I can still see, and the fish have got good eyesight. I haven't seen any while I've been talking to you. But I think when I was here last, I got whacked by a fish somewhere along here. So it's in my mind. And again, the fly's just ready and primed to go. And if I see something, I'm going to have to say goodbye to you and go see if I can cover it. But I've not seen anything just as yet. Here it looks like it might lend itself. There's more of a gentle run-in, more of a gentle beach, really. And so I may need to step out just a tiny bit further, but I'd prefer not to, actually. I'm walking in while I'm talking to you, and I'll just have to back my eyesight if I see a fish. And they've generally, all of them, haven't been more than 20 feet out from the bank. So, yeah, I've talked myself out of that one. I'm going to walk along here relatively quickly. As I said, I like those flatter bits. That's where I've seen the most. Oh, I've just seen one bugger. I just spooked one. Just saw his tail there. So he was again in really, really shallow water. He's just shot out. So, right, okay, I'm going to turn this off just in case I see somebody. That was a cruising fish as well by the looks of it. Just saw its tail as it bolted away. I was obviously creeping up on it. Oh, is that? No, it's a rock. The amount of times, it's one of these things as well, when I know that I'm having a good time. I've probably talked about this before. When I'm talking to myself, I know I'm having a wonderful time, and I'm certainly having that. Carried on this bank with the wind coming into my face and into my bank, and saw a couple of, as I call them now, reverse cloopers. So I saw 3 or 4 tails poking up where the wind has blown, I guess, the food, weed, shrimps, bugs, whatever it may be, into this bank. The fish were taking advantage of it. I tried a few nymphs, nothing happened. Then I put a jig nymph on with a silver back. I thought there's a tiny bit of colour in the water, and I got a whack. Fish was on briefly and came off, and I thought, oh man, is this going to be the story of today? So I thought, well, sod it. If this is going to happen, I've got a bigger leech pattern. Water's a little bit coloured, and pulled and a good hard take, and thankfully this fish stuck about £4 or so. Absolutely beautiful, really, really strong fight. You stick at it. If you follow your hunches, follow what you think might happen, where the fish might be, then you get lucky. I think I've seen another fish a little bit further round as well. I'm not 100% sure, so I may go and check that out. But my net is wet, so that is good. There's still not been a salmon in there for a little bit, but I had a sea trout recently, and now I've had a carp that I'm really thrilled about. I'm going to stick with the leech pattern for obvious reasons, and I wonder if that slightly bigger hook is playing into my advantage as well. It's probably a size 8 or something like that, where I've been fishing 14s, and I wonder if that's something to do with it. It may not be, I don't know, but the take was a good hard one. It was on the nymph as well. It just didn't stick. It exploded on the water it was on. I felt the weight of the fish, but it just came off again. So I'm going to have a look, see if there's any more of these guys around, but I'm really, really pleased with how it's played out. I'd love to amaze you with my carp catching prowess, but I saw another couple of reverse cloopers, covered them with the leech and caught them, which has been amazing fun. I've really, really enjoyed it. I guess what I've learned from this was to keep moving, follow your gut, and like I was saying, if you were fishing for trout, this is where I would be fishing. The wind's blowing into me. That's where it's blowing the food to. So that's why I've not really moved a great deal. I've had more bumps as well, and converting those I need to try and figure out and understand. I'll probably speak to the smarter people afterwards. I've been mixing it up. The take's been quite hard pulls, but whether they have actually converted into anything, and I've done a mixture of trying to set into them and strip strike into them, and it hasn't made that much difference. It makes me wonder perhaps if the fish were just hitting it the once. I don't know, but that's what it's felt like to me. And the takes that I've had have been hard, positive. Yep, I'm having this. The hook on the leech is a bit knackered now. Typically I've only got one of those, so one of the things I'll be thinking about is tougher, harder hooks. I've got something similar on that's got some fake jungle eye on it as well, and I had a couple of whacks. There was some fish moving around that I'd seen and had a couple of whacks, but didn't again convert them. But steady small strips seems to have done the job pretty okay for me. I can't figure a vase it in because there's a lot of weed here, so I'm trying to keep it moving so that when it first lands, if I keep it moving, then I'm not hopefully going to hook up in the weed and stuff, so they don't seem to mind that too much. I'm going to start working my way back now. I've not seen any tails for a little bit now, but I've been thinking as well about us as fly anglers, and my natural thought was to come here today simply because the water temperatures are a little warmer. So do we have to evolve? Do we have to look at things? In my lifetime, I don't know if salmon are still going to be around. I hope sincerely that they are, and despite everything we try and do to mess it up, but I worry about that. I worry about trout and rising temperatures, what's going to happen there. So are we evolving? I'm seeing lots of great pictures of mullet and bass being caught right now. So in the summer, does that mean that we start to look at other species now rather than the more traditional one? It's been happening, and I've been there. It's probably the second or third coming, but from the early 2000s when people were looking at mullet and bass and carp and pike, and is that where we're going now? Do we have to look away from the traditional forms of fishing? So I guess either consciously or more likely subconsciously that it felt, I'm going to give this a go anyway, and it's a bright summer's day. I wanted to stalk fish. I'm not being elitist about this in any way, shape or form. If you know me, that's not how I am. I just love seeing fish and being able to see fish that have been tailing, to cover them, and amazingly to catch them as well. has been really, really good fun. You don't need to change anything. You don't need to change your tackle. Even your trout flies, your lake flies are going to work. So there might be places that you can go try this and give it a go. I'm definitely coming back again soon. I want to figure out in my mind flies and how I can best set those up and learn a little bit more from some friends. I've got, a few books and stuff, so I'm going to look into that a little bit more deeply as well. But the whole process of this has been great, and I've just had to follow my instinct more than anything else. And that's the lovely thing about when you step out of the comfort zone and go and try something a little bit different. I've caught a few carp in my life on fly, but this way has been really, really good fun. It's challenged me in a good way. It's made me think. It's made me use my water craft, and it's just fun to do something a little bit different. I've got some sun as well. It's nice. There's a good cool breeze. You can probably hear that in the background. I recommend it. Give it a go. I hope you've enjoyed this one. This has been a little bit different. I'm going to walk. I think I've seen, while I've been talking to you, a fish not a million miles in front of me. So I may have a go there in a moment. But then I'm going to start heading back home, I think. It's been I've walked so many miles. I don't know how many steps I've done. But it's been worth it just to experience a different form of fishing. And I could have gone down to the river and I probably would have had a lovely time. As I said, I'd worry about the water temperatures. But it's nice to do it. I haven't got my dog with me today. Perhaps next time he'll come along. I think he'd have enjoyed this. It was because it was such a bright day, it didn't make sense to bring him along. But I've tried my utmost to give you some advice, hints, tips that I hope you found interesting. As I said, I'm by no means an expert in this sort of stuff, but use your watercraft if you're going to try for a different species. It might be the same with mullet, it might be the same with bass. Think about where fish might be holding out and follow your hunches and your gut. Don't be afraid to move. Cover water. I think that's my main take from today. I've enjoyed every single second of this and hope you've enjoyed this one too. Thanks so much for listening to the Fly Culture Podcast.
The Fly Culture Podcast is brought to you in association with Fly Culture, a quarterly published magazine owned and run by fly anglers. When it comes to fly fishing, we've got you covered.